All right, so we're here to go over Eureka Grade 4, Module 6, Lesson 13, or specifically what our community is going to go over on April 23rd. We're going to be looking at how we can add mixed numbers, both in fractional and decimal form. All right, so let's go ahead and start with trying to find a solution for 6 and 5/10 plus 7 and 100. Okay, right off the bat, I notice that I don't have the same fractional unit, so I know that I won't be able to add right away because I need to have a similar unit. I also know that 1/10 is the same as 10/100, and I know this because I can multiply by 10/10 to get that 10/100. 10/10 is a version of 1, and my identity property tells me that when I multiply by a version of 1, my value does not change. Okay, so if I want to change 5/10 to hundredths, each one's a tenth, which is the same as 10/100. So 10/100, 20/100, 30/100, 40/100, 50/100. So this is now 6 and 50/100 because I have renamed it. My value has not changed. I've simply changed how I name it. And I still have that 7 and 100. Okay, now that I have similar units, I can go ahead and add with my similar unit. 6 plus 7 would be 13. And 50/100 plus 100 would give me 51/100. So my final answer would be 15 and 51/100. If we wanted to do this in decimal form, we absolutely could. So what we would do is we would change that 6 and 5/10 to 6 and 5/10 in terms of a decimal. And then I'm going to go ahead and write this up and down in our vertical format. And then I have my 7 and 100. Remember, that 100 is that next place value. So I need to make sure to indicate that I have 0 tens and 100. I notice that although I've lined up my decimal points, which is critical when I add and subtract decimals, I don't have a hundredths place right here. So let's go ahead and add our placeholder of 0 to indicate that that 5/10 is the same as 50/100. Once we do that, we just go ahead and add. So let's go ahead and make sure I have the same color. 0/100 plus 100 is 100. 5/10 plus 0/10 is 5/10. Bring down that decimal because now I'm in my ones place. 6 plus 7 is 13. So again, I get that 13 and 51/100. All right, let's try a couple more. Let's start by writing this one as a fraction, and then let's go ahead and change it right to decimals. So I have 8 and 7/10, and I want to add that to my 2 and 65/100. All right, let's go ahead and write them as our decimals. All right, so I have my 8 and 7/10. Oh, wrong thing. Here we go. I have my 8 and 7/10, and I'm adding to that my 2 and my 65/100. Again, I'm lining up that decimal point, but I notice, here, let's try to get these lined up a little bit better. There we go. I notice that I don't have a hundredth place here. Well, I know that 7/10 is the same as 70/100, so I can go ahead and add that in as a placeholder. And then, of course, we just add. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 6 is 13. I'm carrying those 10/10 over here because 10/10 is the same as 1, so I'm carrying over to my ones place. 1 plus 8 plus 2 is 11. So we get 11 and 35/100 or 11 and 35/100. All right, let's go ahead and do one more. This time we're just going to be writing it as our decimal. All right, so this last one, let's do it in purple. This last one that we have is 6 and 87/100 plus 3 and 9/10. Again, I don't have that 0, or I don't have that hundredths place because I'm working with hundredths and tenths. I'm going to go ahead and add that placeholder to show that 9/10 is the same as 90/100 so that everything is all lined up. From there, we just go ahead and add like we are used to. 7 plus 0 is 7. 8/10 plus 9/10 would give me 17/10. I know that 17 tenths is the same as 1 and 7 tenths, because I can pull out that 10 tenths and that 7 tenths. 10 tenths plus 7 tenths does give me that 17 tenths, 1 and 7 tenths, or 1 and 7 tenths, again, just in a different form. So I am going to keep those 7 tenths and then carry that 1 over to the appropriate place value. 1 plus 6 plus 3 does give me 10, so 10 and 77 hundredths. All right, so again, this was a review of the material that is present in Eureka Grade 4, Module 6, Lesson 13, or specifically what we as a community went over on April 23rd. I hope that this was helpful and that this helps you complete your practice activity. And as always, let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything I can do to help. Thanks so much.